And we are live. Hey, yo! What is good, all of you beautiful people out there? How are y'all doing today? That is fantastic. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to the Double Diesel Sports Podcast, where we talk about everything National Football League in season, off season. It does not matter because it's all still football. At the end of the day, I am your host, Double Diesel, and welcome to this week 3 recap of the 2023 National Football League season. And do we just go straight into it? Screw it. Let's just go straight into it. Best way to sum up week 3 of the NFL season. Week 3 just concluded. Both Monday night games last night. Best way to describe this entire week was what the hell did we just watch? That's the best way to describe this. Everything that we saw from all of Sunday, I don't know if I remember a weirder, crazier, more unpredictable day in the over nearly 11 years that I've been a football fan, a diehard football fan at that. I don't think I've ever seen a day as crazy as yesterday was. And really it all starts with the game that everyone's been talking about. It's the game that everybody's been focused on, analyzing like crazy. And that's the batshit nutness that has gone down in South Florida. I'm, of course, talking about the Denver Broncos against the Miami Dolphins. And, going into this season, we all talked about who were the powerhouses of the AFC. The usual suspects usually come up. Kansas City, Cincinnati, Buffalo. There are also some teams that some people sprinkled in as teams on the rise. Miami was a part of that. The Jags were a team, and we'll talk about them later. Were a potential team on the rise. But for the most part, people view the AFC as this bloodbath that we're still going to be, had the usual suspects at the top of the mountain. And Miami, like I said, was one of those teams that people were keeping an eye on, but nobody viewed as a team that could maybe legitimately knock off one of the top dogs because there were just so many questions around them. Was last year a fluke? Can Tua stay healthy? Is this team going to potentially take a step back because they didn't finish last year so hot? It's all of those questions surrounding this team. And 3 weeks in, we are eating all of the shit in regards to that. It's incredibly rare to see a team drop 50 points in an NFL game. I don't think people realize just how rare it is to actually score 50 points in an NFL game. That's why whenever it happens, everyone loses their minds over it. Hell, the last time a team even scored 60 points is even more rare. The last time it happened was back in 2011. When a team scores 70, it's unheard of. Just in case you didn't know, the last time a team scored at least 70 points was 1966. That was the very first year of the modern era of the NFL, the Super Bowl era. That was the first year the Super Bowl was introduced. And it's been since then, no team has even sniffed 70 points. It's happened 2 other times before Sunday. It was in the 1930s and then in 1966. Those are the only 2 times where a team even made it to 70. Well, add a third team to that list. Mike McDaniel has cracked the code on how to run offense in the modern NFL. I don't know how you stop this offense. And as a Patriot fan who, I took our loss to Miami last week and I said there's no moral victories that week. I'm rethinking that. Because the fact that we were able to hold that defense, or that offense rather, to 7 points in the entire second half last week in Foxborough is a fucking miracle. Looking at that last week, it is a miracle that we held that defense, or that offense, excuse me, to 24 points the entire game. This team dropped 70 on the Denver Broncos. Like I said, the last time a team even got to 60 points was back in 2011. I remember that game. That was a Sunday Night Football game where the Indianapolis Colts had a 60-burger dropped on them by a Saints team that was ironically coached by Sean Payton. And let me just paint the full picture here. This is the box score. If you have not seen it yet, this is the box score of the Miami Dolphins in this game from Sunday. The Miami Dolphins, as a team, had 726 yards of total offense. 726 total yards of offense. There were 376 total passing yards. 309 of those were by the arm of Tua Tagovailoa. The other 67 were from Mike White, who, by the way, he got in on the action after chucking it deep on a, 60-yard touchdown to one Robbie Chosen, or Chosen Anderson. I don't know what the hell his name is anymore. But that's not even the craziest part. The craziest part of this entire stat line... Oh, and also Tyreek Hill had 150 yards receiving in this game as well. But they had over 350 yards on the ground. Raheem Mostert had 82. And Devon Achane, who is a rookie backup running back they drafted in, I want to say, the 4th round out of Texas A&M. That was an incredibly weird profile coming out because he had speed for days, but his body type was all weird because, he was really undersized and nobody really in the league had his kind of body type, so he was kind of hard to project. But when he got drafted to Miami, I was like, Mike McDaniel's going to know how to use him. And sure as shit, he knows how to use him. He did not have a touchdown coming into today. He did not score his first career touchdown through the first 2 weeks of the season. On this day, 4 total touchdowns. 2 on the ground, 2 through the air, where he had only a measly 30 yards receiving, which I say measly because he had 203 yards on the ground. If your backup running back is rushing for over 200 yards in a game, that's how you should know your offense is way too OP. I already mentioned the fact that Tyreek Hill had 157 on the day and a touchdown, which was on a touchdown on the first drive of the game, 3rd play of the game, where he was just wide ass open. That play should have been an indication of how the rest of the day was going to go on the Denver defense. But this was... You don't even see scores like this in Madden. You don't even see offensive performances like this in a video game. The Dolphins are playing Madden in real life. There was a point in this game where Tua Tagovailoa went 16 of 16 to start the game. He had 3 incomplete passes the whole game. He's the perfect quarterback to run Mike McDaniel's offense, where he's getting the ball out quickly. And we were talking about going into the season of this Dolphins success. The success of this team is going to hinge on whether or not Tua can stay healthy. because, he got banged up a lot last year with the concussions, and he got knocked out for a long period of time because of those. And we were talking about, is he going to be able to play again? And if he gets another concussion, that's certainly his career. It was such a big question mark with Tua. And he has shown that when he is healthy, he will dot you up. And you see it, like, how do you avoid getting hit? You get the ball out incredibly fast. I mean, he's getting the ball out under 2 seconds every single play, and they're getting play designs that are designed to do that, where they are just moving guys all over the place. There's constant motion. Mike McDaniel is just a master in knowing what lever to pull at what moment. It's a masterpiece of offensive football to watch, and it is unbelievable. And it shows that a team, if they really wanted to, could score as many points as they want. And they had the chance to break the record of the most points scored in an NFL game on Sunday, when they busted out another long run, when they had the backups in late in the fourth quarter. I remember seeing this game on Red Zone. It was 70-20, and it wasn't that part that just scared me. It was the fact that it was 70-20 with 8 minutes left in the game. There was a point where I was like, oh my God, they might fucking drop 80 on them. I can't believe it. It is one of the most incredible offensive performances. And we're in this discussion of, because you look through the first 3 games, most yards through the first 3 games of any team in league history, most points through any team through 3 weeks of any team in league history. Is this a serious team where you can look at it as a potential, by season's end, statistically the greatest offense we've ever seen? Looking through the first 3 games, there's no reason why this team can't be that. I mean, you can't just no team drops just 70 points. No team just does that. Like I said at the start of this, it's incredibly rare to get to 50, let alone goddamn 70. But I love how, they had the chance to break the record by kicking a field goal and to make it 73-20, and they just didn't do that because, according to Mike McDaniel, they didn't want to run up the score. Run up the score? You just fucking dropped 7-0 on a professional football team's head, though we will talk about that in a bit. I don't think the whole we don't want to run the score up shit applies anymore. I don't think that applies anymore. But yeah, man, this team is just unbelievable to watch. But now let's talk about the Denver Broncos. We are live here on YouTube, by the way. And for those of you who are joining, we go live every single day here on YouTube. Or not every single day, every Tuesday, that is. My apologies. Here on YouTube, and it is, the date at the moment is September 26th, 2023. So we are 2 days removed from that massacre. I can't be the only one that's shocked that Vance Joseph still has a job. I can't be the only one that's shocked. I get it, it's week 3. Coaches don't get fired that early in the season, because teams are still working kinks out, and they're still learning what their team is like, and they're still, figuring things out because, it's a long season ahead. It's a long season ahead, Sean Payton said, we have a long ways to go, and he's not even thinking about cutting anybody loose. And usually I would agree with that sentiment, if not for the fact that your defense gave up 70 points. And here's the thing with those kind of blowouts is, usually when you see like large blowouts like that, it's usually like a combination of scores. You get offensive touchdowns, but every now and then you might get like, defensive touchdowns, kick returns, punt returns, special teams gaffes. Usually something like that happens that increases to that insane score. This was not the case. All 70 points scored by Miami were scored on offense. 10 total touchdowns were scored by the Miami offense on the Denver defense that has taken a ridiculous fall from grace since they let Ejiro Evero pack his bags and move to Carolina. I don't understand how nobody lost their job after that game. If I'm the ownership group in Denver, I'm not even letting Vance Joseph step foot on the fucking tarmac, let alone still fly back to Denver and still have a job. I don't get how guys don't lose their job after that performance. You almost have to, because your defense just allowed something that hasn't happened since the goddamn 60s. You don't get a free pass. I'm not saying it's a free pass or he's getting like off easy or whatever, but he should not have a job right now if your defense is allowing 10 touchdowns on their offense. Like that can't happen. I shouldn't have to tell you that can't happen. And the craziest thing about Denver is, the one guy that everyone's been criticizing, since last year and even going into this year, Russell Wilson played okay. That's the craziest thing. He played okay. Like this loss was not on Russ whatsoever. Was he perfect? No, not close, but you can't expect an offense to try and match fucking 70 points. You can't expect any offense to try and match that. No matter how good or how much talent you have. But, as far as the Denver Broncos go, this is a situation where I think it's time to blow it up. Because when your team gives up has an historic loss like that, that is a sign that everything in your organization is not the way it should be. Players, coaches, training staff, fucking medical team, fucking like the fucking turf crew, the people the assistants to the owners, like everybody in that organization is not up to the way it should be when your team gives up a performance like that. This is a situation where you just need to, hey, we're not going anywhere. This is not a team that's going to be successful. We're 0-3. Our defense just gave up 70 points. Our offense only really scored 13 because there was a kickoff return for a touchdown, which, by the way, I've never seen a kickoff return for a touchdown that people gave less of a shit about than Marvin Mims taking that kickoff to the house. But yeah, it's I don't even know what to say. Like, I'm speechless that a team just got that ran through. Figuratively and literally. But yeah, there should not be a single person in that building that feels like they have job security after that game. If I'm the Broncos, I would, like I said, trade anybody worth a damn. Whether that's Russ, if you can move off of him, Courtland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, Javonte Williams, Justin Simmons, Pat Surtain. Just try and get anybody. Get as much draft capital as you can and just hit the reset button and start over from scratch. And I know me saying getting rid of all those best guys might sound like, all right, that's a little too much. It's only week 3. It's a little too much to just get rid of those great players. But when you have a performance like that, you should be relegated. You should be relegated to the Pac-12, honestly. But even then, even if you relegate the Denver Broncos to the Pac-12, USC would probably still kick their fucking ass. So this team is in a horrible state right now, and they need to rebound. And the only way to rebound is just tanking and just hitting the reset button and just starting over from scratch. Starting with quarterback, even though I know Russ has not been the problem, or at least not most of the problem. Russ played fine, but I'm just saying, like, you need to really rethink how you're running your organization, how you're running your team. You need to rethink how you've built teams over the years, of how it even got to this point. So trade everyone worth a damn. Try and get as much draft capital as you can. Start over next year with a quarterback and a quarterback class that looks loaded. And then just try and rebuild from there. Because I would rather be a fan of a rebuilding team that gives up a loss like that than be a fan of a team that gives up a loss like that had some semblance of expectations this year and last year as well. So, yeah, it's... Denver is in a state of flux that I don't know what to do. I don't realistically know what to do, because I know they're not going to trade all their best guys. I know they're not going to. But the thing is, like, what do you do? How do you rebound from something like that? I'd be shocked if there's any morale in that locker room. They leave a lot more questions than answers, that's for damn sure. But let's move on to some of these other games throughout the day. I have 4 more games that I want to talk about. First of all, starting with Texans-Jags. Talking about another team that had expectations that are wildly different than what we expected them to be. Though in the opposite way, that being the Jacksonville Jaguars. And the Jaguars, I don't know. I know it's only week 3, but I don't know what's happened to this team. This is a team that took a huge step forward from the Urban Meyer debacle in 2021. I mean, a step forward was the only possible fucking way they could go after that whole shit happened. But they have a great year last year. They win the division. They won a playoff game. Nearly knock off the eventual Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs in the divisional round. And they come into this year, and week 1, it looked more of the same. You know, they had a good win over the Indianapolis Colts. And then, and these last couple of weeks, it's just, I don't know what's happened. They've just been on the decline all of a sudden. And, you know, last week was against Kansas City, where Chris Jones was just coming back. He was incredibly fresh, and he just ate that offense for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And it was a surprisingly low-scoring game that, you know, Jacksonville was on the losing end of. But even then, like, that was at least a good Kansas City Chiefs team that had a semi-good defense. What's the excuse this week? Because the Texans don't have the talent that Kansas City did on the defensive side of the ball, let alone on their team as a whole. And it's weird because Houston, over these last few years, despite the fact that both teams have been kind of relatively bad, Houston has dominated this rivalry for the most part over these last 5 years. I think they only lost to the Jags, once over the last 4 or 5 seasons? So Houston has their number historically, and this week was more of the same. CJ Stroud went in and just looked incredible. He looked polished. He looked comfortable. He was throwing dots to Tank Dell, which, by the way, Tank Dell looks like he's going to be a fucking superstar. Yeah, I fell in love with him when he went to at the University of Houston, gets drafted to the Houston Texans, and he has been just as good as I expected him to be. And CJ Stroud has looked, like I said, he's looked really, really good, not just on Sunday, but the start of his young career at this point. You know, barring the injury to Anthony Richardson, CJ Stroud has looked like the best rookie quarterback through 3 weeks. And all of a sudden, you look at the Houston Texans as a team that could potentially compete, maybe, like, maybe not like compete for anything big. I'm not talking about like push for a playoff spot, but I've seen crazier things happen. But who knows? I mean, this team really looks like they're starting to get their feet under them. And, they're already starting to make an impact. D'Amico Ryans is already starting to have his presence felt on this team. And this could be a really fun, interesting team to follow the rest of the year. And as far as Jacksonville, it's almost the complete opposite, where they had so much expectations coming into the year, and they've just completely just had a downward spiral after their week 1 win so far. And it's still a lot of football left this year. They could rebound, absolutely. They have the talent to do that. But, this is just not a good look so far for the Jacksonville Jaguars, where they look almost defeated. And, they're going to have 2 straight weeks playing in London, so we'll see if going over to the brethren across the pond is going to, give them, I don't know, something. Like, maybe a change of scenery will help them get their groove back a little bit in their home away from home. But yeah, that's pretty much it as far as that game goes. Next game I want to talk about is Saints-Packers. Talk about a game where you have the guy. This is a game the New Orleans Saints dominated through the first 3 quarters, especially in that first half. They took a 17-0 lead over Green Bay in Lambeau Field in Jordan Love's first career start in Lambeau. And the Saints were just not running away with it, but they had a pretty strong grip on this game. They were offensively, they were neutralized in the third quarter, but they were still able to not allow the Packers offense to do anything. And the Packers offense, especially their offensive line, took a beating in this game. Offensive line wasn't doing much help. Receivers were dropping passes, not getting open for Green Bay. Jordan Love wasn't able to get much of anything because he wasn't getting help from his supporting cast. And it was rough those first 3 quarters. And New Orleans, they weren't super great on offense, but they were good enough in that first half. Rashid Shaheed looks like an absolute superstar with the huge punt return. And it looked like the Saints were going to hold on to this. And then the fourth quarter rolls around, and it was like a light switch had been flipped. And Jordan Love had a Thanos moment where he said, "Fine, I'll do it myself." And he single-handedly willed this team back, scoring 18 unanswered points in the entire fourth quarter. And he was making big-time throws. He was making plays with his feet. He was making incredible plays with his arm. The moment didn't shake him. Being down 17 points, and it's moments like that where when teams are looking for franchise quarterbacks and teams are looking for a guy of like, all right, can we win because of this guy, not with this guy? That's a lot of distinctions from the great quarterbacks from the good quarterbacks. Is good quarterbacks you can win with. They'll keep a game afloat. They'll manage the game. The great quarterbacks you'll win because of. If you get into a hole, you'll say, hey, we still have a chance because we have that guy. This was that moment where Jordan Love became a good quarterback that can be a really good quarterback here for the Green Bay Packers, and he became, this is the franchise for years and years to come. This was that game. And it was so satisfying to watch. As a Jordan Love truther, I was saying, like, people were giving Jordan Love the bust label. And, people were saying, oh, that was such a horrible pick in the first round because they drafted him in the first round. Then Aaron Rodgers won 2 straight MVPs after that. And people were saying he was a bust. People were automatically assuming that he was going to be terrible because before this year, like, he had 1 career start on a short week's notice against the Chiefs in Arrowhead. It's like, how'd you expect that game to go? And, people were talking about how Jordan Love, they just assumed he was going to be bad and life after Aaron Rodgers was going to be terrible. People thought the same exact thing when Brett Favre left and Aaron Rodgers took over. It's almost the exact same situation, verbatim. Brett Favre was the guy for a long time, but the Packers didn't know how much longer he was going to be there because he was there for so long. They drafted Aaron Rodgers in the first round, which is a great moment initially, but then after the dust settled, people in Green Bay were questioning, why'd you draft Aaron Rodgers? Why'd you draft a quarterback in the first round? We still have Brett Favre. We could need somebody to help us win now. And then he sat on the bench for 3 years himself. Rodgers was on the bench for 3 years behind Brett Favre himself. Favre finally left on the same shaky situations. I'm telling you, you look at the situation with Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers, and you look at Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love. Now, I swear to God, this is the ultimate history repeats itself moment. But Aaron Rodgers finally takes over after 3 years on the bench, and he instantly becomes the guy there. And he was the guy for so many years. He won, 3 league MVPs, I think? 4 league MVPs in Green Bay. And he leaves. Jordan Love comes in after they drafted him a few years ago. People thought he was going to be bad, and here he is making incredible fourth quarter comebacks in games where everyone assumed the Packers were dead and gone. It's amazing. And the Saints had a chance to win at the end too, but they had a long field goal that they missed, and the Packers held on and won 18-17. And like I said, this was Jordan Love's official, I am here, I am him, I'm not going anywhere. If you're going to take me off the field, it's going to be in a body bag game. This was the moment Jordan Love came in and said, I am going to be the guy here for years and years to come. And he'll probably win, another Super Bowl for this team, win 4 more MVPs, and then in 17 years, he'll become the new quarterback for the New York Jets. Hey, it's already done it twice now. Why can't it happen a third time? So moving on now to 2 more games I want to talk about. First of all, I want to talk about easily the biggest upset of the weekend and possibly of the year. I'll take responsibility on this. And everybody else in the football realm should raise my hand with me. I was wrong about Jonathan Gannon. We were all wrong about Jonathan Gannon. We looked at, the whole off-season and the pre-hype videos that were supposed to get you hyped up from training camp that just left you feeling confused and not happy because you looked at him Jonathan Gannon, I will say, did not have a great first impression because of the whole, did you take the bus to the game? Did you take the bus to the facility, or did you drive? Did you have the fire in your gut when you were on your way here? And you're like, what's the analogy? I don't get what the analogy is. And then he's talking to Hollywood Brown, and he's doing the whole, we're going to have, pew, 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 fireworks, and he's doing the handguns and going to pew, 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 pew. And you're just looking, and it's like, oh, he's made, everyone was like, yeah, he's a stopgap coach. He's the guy that's going to come in here and lose us games so we can get Caleb Williams and or Marvin Harrison in the draft next year. He's here to tank. He's here to tank for us. 3 weeks in, they had a really tough loss against Washington, where they were in it towards the end but lost it. They were up 28 points on the New York Giants last week, and then they blew the lead in the second half. But they were tough games, though, and it was like, okay, the Cardinals, they weren't able to finish out those games, but they were close games. They were competing in them. And then they go into week 3 at home. You wouldn't know it was at home because it was filled to the brim with Cowboys fans against the Dallas Cowboys that had just demolished both New York teams. The Giants 40-0 in week 2, and then demolished the Jets, what was it, 38-10 in week 2. And they had the Cowboys coming to town, and the Cardinals beat the shit out of them. They didn't just beat the Cowboys on like a fluky last-second play. They beat them convincingly and handily. You know, they dominated this game. It was almost an incredible sight to see. It was so fun to watch. You know, Josh Dobbs came in and played really well. You know, Rondale Moore is finally getting utilized. You know, Cliff Kingsbury could not... Like, Rondale Moore is another example as to why Cliff Kingsbury was an incompetent NFL head coach. He had an awesome playmaker like Rondale Moore, and he had no clue how to use him. Well, Drew Petzing, the first-year offensive coordinator here in Arizona, he's like, hey, we have this explosive guy in Rondale Moore. Let's find ways to get him the football. And they get him the football in an end around that he just takes and he just runs by everyone for a long touchdown run. And Josh Dobbs is moving the offense up and down the field. The Cardinals defense that has been notoriously soft under Cliff Kingsbury came in and they were able to punch the Cowboys offense in the mouth. You know, the Cowboys did try to make it a game at the start of the second half, but then they were quickly able to keep that under wraps. And the Arizona Cardinals, all of a sudden, look like a team that could be really good much sooner than we anticipated them to be. I'm not saying that this is a team that's going to compete for a playoff spot. You know, they just don't have the talent for that. But this is a team where you saw how they played the first 3 weeks. You saw how they played against Dallas. And you're all of a sudden, this team in a blink of an eye went from they are Caleb Williams is a Cardinal and Marvin Harrison Jr. is a Cardinal. All of a sudden, it's what can this team look like when Kyler gets back? You know, we were talking about like, hey, Kyler should just take the year off. He's on IR, but just take the year off. Go to Cabo, just chill, lay back on the beach. Don't worry about football this year. Now all of a sudden, it's a situation of we can get him back this year, and we can maybe even make some noise. Like, I am shocked at the coaching job Jonathan Gannon has done with a team that everybody, myself included, said was going to be the worst team in football this year. Everybody said that Arizona was going to be the worst team in football this year by far. They are not. I even hesitate to say that they're even a bottom 5 team with how they're playing right now. And like I said, who knows what this team could look like when Kyler comes back, and they still have Houston's first-round pick next year, so even if they don't get the number 1 overall pick, they could still potentially be in a situation where they can get Marvin Harrison Jr. All of a sudden, you're looking at a situation where you got a young team that's building up and has some momentum, that has some good things to build off of, and Kyler Murray comes back, and the Kyler Murray disrespect from the offseason has just been ridiculous. You go into 2024 where Kyler Murray still is your guy with Marvin Harrison Jr. to throw the football to, and hopefully they've gained more pieces to that defense, and hopefully they've improved, and that young team has gotten better, and I forgot. Will Anderson Jr. is in Houston. I'm sorry. I don't know why I said that. I'm still so shocked that they didn't take him, because can you imagine if they took Will Anderson Jr. at 3rd overall with how this team is playing? I understand that it's why they didn't, though, because they got an extra first-round pick out of it, and they got more draft picks out of it. But still, though, like, that'd have been insane. But anyway, this got off on a little tangent there. But this is a Cardinals team that is really going to make some noise much, much sooner than we expected them to be. And I'm so excited to see how this team looks for the remainder of the season. As for the Dallas Cowboys, I mean, what is there really to say? Is this a situation where a team played down to their competition? I don't know. I really don't know, because they tried to get it together late and they just couldn't get it together. So I don't know what happened. This very well could be a team that they just play down to their competition. Or is it a situation where the Cardinals might have exposed something that, hey, this team is very beatable. And, you know, this Cowboys team, man, what a difference a week makes. We were talking about this team as a potential Super Bowl team. They were potentially the best team in the NFC outside of San Francisco. This defense is the best defense in football. All of a sudden, in 1 week, the narrative on this Cowboys team has completely shifted. So there's really nothing much else to say about the Dallas Cowboys. Just great win by Arizona. That's all you have to say, man. Great win by Arizona. And finally, one last thing to talk about. Well, a couple things to talk about. It's about the same game, but there's a bunch of different things to talk about from this game. When I first created this channel, a little over a year ago, I never wanted it to be anything else other than just a football channel. Football's my wheelhouse. Football's what I know. Football is what I love to do and what I love to talk about. I never anticipated to talk about really any other sports on this channel, let alone anything outside of the football realm or the sports realm, because, you know, even though I have other interests outside of football, you know, I didn't intend for this channel to be anything else other than that. But, the royal but, when somebody in a high-profile standing in the mainstream inserts their foot into the NFL sphere, whether it be through buying an organization or, you know, being a part of the team in some way, or dating a player. You know, it makes some very for some very interesting television. So you can imagine, after hearing all the rumors throughout the past week, you know, some little sprinklings from the summer, you can imagine how the internet exploded when 4:25 Eastern Standard Time rolled around. We turned on the TV to Fox, and right in front of our face is one Taylor Swift sitting right next to Mama Kelsey in Arrowhead Stadium as the Kansas City Chiefs prepare to take on the Chicago Bears. You can imagine how the internet exploded upon seeing that. I marked out. I popped up. I was excited. I marked out, I will admit, because I was like, I can't believe she's actually there. And I knew for a fact the second that it confirmed that she was there, I was like, well, we're going to have a Taylor cam the rest of the game. Hell, we're probably going to have a Taylor cam the rest of the season. And it almost made the fact that the Kansas City Chiefs blew out the Chicago Bears, that was the second story. That was the backup story to Taylor Swift watching her new boy, Travis Kelce, score a touchdown, and then them cutting to the press box where she's screaming, "Let's fucking go!" Like, great. Now the mainstream media is aware of the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, I figured they already were. You know, the Kansas City Chiefs, they're NFL royalty now. You know, they won 2 of the last 4 Super Bowls, been to 3 of the last 4. So they were already well known in the mainstream. But now you're going to get a bunch of Swifties that don't know jack shit about sports, let alone football, that now feel like they have to because Taylor Swift is now right in the middle of the premier organization, not just in football, but arguably in sports. So this is beneficial not just to the Kansas City Chiefs, this is beneficial to everybody. Taylor Swift, the NFL, football, the Chiefs, this is beneficial to everybody. That this is now a thing. And I wish the best on their relationship. I really do, because they seem happy with each other. They apparently seem like perfect for each other based on how Taylor Swift has described what she wants her, her boyfriend to be like and all that stuff. I can't believe I'm talking about celebrity stuff right now. But this is huge. This is a big deal, and I am all for it. And hey, push comes to shove. Even if they don't work out, at least we'll get a fire album out of it. But hey, I'm all happy for them. I hope it goes great. The Kansas City Chiefs are playing in New York City next Sunday on Sunday Night Football against the New York Jets. So now, everybody's going to be watching that game. Everybody's going to be watching it on prime time. In New York City, too? Oh, that's going to be... if that game does not break records from a viewership standpoint, I will be mind blown. I'll be mind blown if that game does not break all types of viewership records. I will be shocked. So that's the fun part out of the way. Now, we have to talk about the bad part. And that is the Chicago Bears. I missed the podcast last week. And, because I was dealing with a bunch of stuff. I was dealing with personal stuff. So I couldn't get to this. So I couldn't talk about the weird-ass week that the Chicago Bears have endured. And really the weird-ass season the Chicago Bears have endured. I feel like I have to talk about this now. And where do I even start? So, the Bears had so many expectations coming into the season. And it was so much hype around the Bears. Justin Fields, after seeing Jalen Hurts take the year 3 leap and seeing Josh Allen take the year 3 leap and, seeing Lamar Jackson become improved over the years. It was almost expected that Justin Fields would take that same leap. And it just has not happened. He has looked bad. The coaching has looked bad. Everyone's probably seen, the all 22 breakdowns on this Bears offense, how the play design looks horrible, the play calling is horrible, the defense looks horrific. And that was after just their week 2 game where they lost to the Buccaneers. And also in that game as well, everyone probably seen the standstill where Justin Fields, they were just running, I think it was just straight 4 verts. And they had 2 receivers wide open down the seam. One down the seam, one down right the middle of the field. Justin Fields is staring at both of them and does not pull the trigger and instead tucks it and runs right into the back of his offensive linemen that are giving him really good pass protection on the play. The few times they actually give him good pass protection. And he runs right into the back of them when he has 2 receivers that he is staring at that are wide ass open. That perfectly sums up the Bears offense. And then somehow, after their week 2 loss to Tampa, it gets even worse. Because then you have Justin Fields that comes out and says that, he's not playing like him. He's feeling robotic. He just has to go back to playing like him, which I don't know what that means. Is he talking about his Ohio State days where he was just able to play backyard football? Or is he talking about when he was playing at Ohio State where he had all worldly receivers that he could just throw to and they're wide ass open all the time? But, he says that, and then the coaching thing comes out, which I will admit is a little blown out of proportion, but it still is not a great look where, you're asked what's the problem here, and the first thing you say is coaching when you just watch the film. And yes, there is absolutely truth. Coaching is an issue here, but your play is definitely not helping matters. I don't blame people that look at that clip and say that and come away with it saying that he's not taking accountability. Yeah, he did try and walk it back later and did try to take some accountability. But, the initial soundbite is not a good look. And then there was the whole thing where, there was reports that people were saying that Halas Hall was raided and Alan Williams, the defensive coordinator's home, was raided. Those ended up not being true, but it was weird because those reports came after Alan Williams, the defensive coordinator, just randomly resigned. And, he later said that it was to take some breaks for his family and his mental health and all that stuff. But it was so bizarre. It just came out of nowhere. And then an actual raid happened. The first two reports were not true. The third report was true because apparently somebody broke in, like a group of thieves broke into Soldier Field and stole a bunch of equipment. I think a bunch of turf equipment or some shit. It was so weird. And none of it made sense. And it was so bizarre. And I'm like, how the hell could this week get any worse? And then you look at their week 3 opponent and they play the Kansas City Chiefs in Arrowhead. Oh, great. Oh, and by the way, Taylor Swift shows up, so now even more people are watching the game. Oh, great. So now we get to see this Bears team even look just as putrid, if not more putrid, on a national scale. Fantastic. Fantastic. And I'm just watching this game, and they get pummeled. They get absolutely pummeled, 41-10. And it just keeps getting bad to worse. I keep watching this, and I'm like, how the hell does this keep getting worse? It keeps getting worse, and I don't understand how. And you just watch this team, and it's like, they just look like they don't care. Nobody. Coaches, players, nobody looks like they care. Everyone looks deflated. Everyone looks defeated. We're 3 weeks in, and guys are always throwing in the towel of the season. And, and they're still Bears fans. And this has been driving me nuts because there's still Bears fans that look at Justin Fields and he has not played well at all. Yes, I understand coaching has been a problem. Yes, play call and play design has been a massive problem. But Justin Fields, even on good play calls, have not looked good. He has not looked good. He was statistically one of the worst passers in the league last year. He was one of the worst statistical passers this year through 3 weeks. And there is no sign of improvement in his game, from a passing standpoint. Nothing looks improved. Nothing looks like he has taken the next step in any regard. And I am sick of hearing Bears fans say, well, they have to run him more. They have to run him more. That's when he's at his best. They got to get more designed runs in. If he is only effective when he is running the ball, then God damn it, make him a full-time running back at that point. Why is he even the quarterback? Just make him a fucking running back if you want him to run the ball so fucking much. I don't get it. I mean, this is absolutely, Bears fans don't want to admit it, but this is absolutely a Caleb Williams destination next year. Even if you don't get Caleb Williams, this is a quarterback destination, period, next year. The best situation, and honestly, Justin Fields. I think you need to change positions, dog. I think you need to change positions. Because just look at your alma mater, Ohio State. Like, Terrell Pryor did it. Braxton Miller did it. They changed their positions, and they played relatively fine. I mean, hell, Terrell Pryor was terrible in the NFL as a quarterback, transitioned to wide receiver, instantly became a Pro Bowl wide receiver. It's possible. You're athletic enough. You can do it. You have the athletic ability to do it. Do it. Change positions. Become a running back. He could be a running back day one and be the best running back in the NFL potentially. But as a passer, as a quarterback, it's not it. He's not it. He's not the guy. He's not the guy. He'll never be the guy. He has shown he will never be the guy. He's not... I'm not going to say he's the worst quarterback from his draft class because Zach Wilson exists, but he's definitely number 2 at this moment in time. And I am saying that even despite the fact that Trey Lance has really never seen the field. Like, because at least with Trey Lance, it's like, I can't say anything on it because we've never seen him. We've really never seen him. With Justin Fields, we've seen enough. I'm not saying bench him because who's the backup option right now? You don't have any other option other than play Justin Fields. But it's a situation where I'm seriously like, consider a position change, dog. Consider one. Because, like, I can't envision a world where he becomes a successful NFL quarterback at this rate. I think his confidence is on the verge of being shot. He doesn't look like he's improved as far as being able to read defenses. Nothing in his game looks improved from a passing standpoint. Everything in Chicago is just an absolute shit show that I'm at a loss for words. Like, is it a situation where Matt Eberflus is fired by the end of the season? Maybe. Is he fired midseason? Potentially. But this is just a complete shit show in all regards, and I feel bad to an extent because Bears fans were so happy. They were so excited. They were so hyped going into this year where they thought, hey, we're finally better than the Packers. We finally have a chance where we got DJ Moore and we can potentially make some noise. And it's just gone the complete opposite way. Everything that can go wrong for this organization has gone wrong. And there is a situation where I'm like, I know I say it can't get worse, but look at who they play this upcoming week, October 1st. The Denver Broncos. Yes, we get a Bears-Broncos matchup this Sunday. And the Denver Broncos are living proof with this week that it can always get worse. So Bears fans, I'm not even going to sugarcoat it and be nice and say it can't get worse than this because it absolutely can be worse than this. Just look at your opponent this week. That's all I'm going to say on that. That's all I have to say. And that's all I have to say for this show. You know, what a weird week. What a bizarre-ass week. We'll see if week 4 we return to some normalcy. We will see, but it's the NFL. I will never expect such a thing. There is no such thing as normal in the NFL. But that is the show, ladies and gentlemen. Like, subscribe, and share the video if you have not done so already. And if you know anybody that does enjoy this kind of content, I will be back here next week on Tuesday, live every single Tuesday here at noon Eastern Standard Time. And I will also be live every single Sunday for Sunday Night Football live streams. But with that being said, I am Double Diesel. Peace.